All right. We got another quick follow-up. Here's what the juice up box looks like. 5 in box. That's how I usually buy them. Sometimes you can get 10 for maybe a hair cheaper, but usually that's not the case. So this is something I thought of on my drive home. So we were talking about before how some refills may have issues because of that pre-compressed spring, and why the tip just ever so sneaks out. If you go and watch my original Modal video, you'll see that on the Uniball, it doesn't actually stick out. It's like right there or something. No, that's even sticking out, like right there. So it's just that little bit more. And that's just due to where the length is on a Pilot G2 refill and a Uniball. And I think they are like a Uniball refill is a Euro 110. They are a touch longer than the Pilot G2. But something I thought of, one of the other things why they can make this shorter, and what was beneficial, one of the cool things about the Modal is how short that throw is. It's like a little check mark, right? We've been over this before, right? Little check mark, right? If we grab the other Modal I have at hand here, same sort of thing. Just like a little check. They did an amazing job for a bolt. Normally you need way more length, right? Or even if we look at, here is the switch pen, right? It is actually a hair longer than the Modal. Even if you delete the top cap part there, you can kind of see a little bit of a seam, right? It's still a hair longer, and something to keep in mind, this is not natively Pilot G2 compatible. It's actually a Parker refill pen. So Parker refill pen is actually slightly longer, and with overall length, like it's a little over 5 inches, whereas the Modal is exactly 5, right? And that's because how much throw is in this whole mechanism here. Now, for the actual, like, getting the pen out, or getting the refill out, there's not too much in it. It just comes straight out. But there's a lot of movement in the upper part of the mechanism to make that happen, right? So by comparison as well, even though this guy's a little check, right? You just from here to there, tactile turn. Bolt is in the opposite direction, which is fine. LTT or LMG were trying to tell me that, no, it doesn't matter what side the bolt's on. I told them, hey, your pen's left-handed. Yeah, and they're thinking I'm talking about the direction of moving the bolt. No. Effectively, the bolt's on this side of the pen, which nobody holds the clip towards them like that. You hold it like that. I mean, maybe some of you do hold the clip towards you. I couldn't not stand the fact that that's catching on my hand the whole time I'm writing. Yeah, clip's going up, or anywhere in this region, right? But why we bring this up is this is actually the updated tactile turn bolt for this gen. They actually had the slider and the glider that even used like a bigger half moon style, but this is way more. And if you notice, it kind of goes out not way past, but past, and then back in, right? That's what that little nubbin is there, right? The other thing is, what that means is if we were able to look in here like we are on the Ultim, that tip of that refill is significantly recessed in there. And you're like, well, what are you getting at? Why does this matter? Well, by preloading the refill, right, pushing it more this way and actually having like a third of that spring already taken up, you just push it forward. So let's watch this one now. There's a little bit of little tiny bit, because there is that little notch on there. But if you notice, it's not notching up, it's notching over. Right? Whereas this is notch and up, right? And even this is a vast improvement over the, like I have a very early, actually a launch tactile turn bolt that I then modified myself to make work with Uniball refills the same day I got it. Hey, if I think it should work and it should have worked, it's gonna work, okay? Somebody else was over here that was like kind of new to dealing with me, and they're like, "What? You're drilling like a $100 plus pen brand new?" I'm like, "Sure am. Let's go." And it still works to this day, and they've even repaired it once for me, and they didn't say anything about the tip. But what that means is because we're preloaded a third of the way, that can be this little check mark. So if, like I kind of was thinking, I wonder why no other pens, like they really optimized this to have this little check mark. Like, why have no other bolts just done this? Well, the reason is they're probably trying to maintain the same amount of tip clearance or spring fitment that the stock ones are, right? And you can't even hope to see in here the tip way in there. Like, it is well recessed, right? And you can see how much over. That's how much over, right? And it goes to there. And yes, I know it looks like I haven't put the refill out far enough. That's kind of just how these M-Brights are, because of the really squared off tip. It might be a hair short I cut it. And I mean like a hair, because you could get it to be like, see, they're already well past it's because it's not in focus. Like right there is maybe exactly out, like flush. And right there is where it wants to be. So it's a little bit inside, but like we're talking that's less than a millimeter. But yeah, so that's why there's this much bigger down and over, down and over. You get used to it. This one's hanging up a little bit. Something to do with the M-Bright. There's not an O-ring in here. The inside of the M-Bright, at the tip at least, is the same width as the Slim. So I had to change it to a G2 spring. It just works better. But there seems to still be a little bit of a hitch, and it's where the refill catches the tip. So I may need to take it out. I have shown you guys before how I modify my Uniball refills. I'm pretty sure this one hasn't been like beveled, angled, and sanded to make it like smooth, you know. But so that's another reason why. And I know we're continuing on like about just one pen. Well, that's because like I would have to say like maybe not the Hive Ultim, but the Modal in general. If you guys are looking for an everyday carry pen, and you know, you're like, oh, I can't spend that much on a single pen, or if I'm going to, it needs to be like a pen. In my opinion, the Modal, because it can also be with just a spacer adapted to Parker refills. And you can actually, my recommendation, to be truthful, if you ever think you might want to do that, order this in Parker configuration if it's available. They will include the Parker refill and the spacer. Just go and buy yourself a G2 or a Uniball style refill for it, you know, or buy a couple of them, or go on Jet Pens and order. Like what I did is when I got my very first bolt, that's how and why I found Tactile Turn, was actually because of their ink selection. They were listed as being compatible with Uniball, and I was just getting into those refills. And I literally ordered like one of every style of Uniball that fit, and like one of every 0.28 and one of every, you know, so it'd be roughly 3 millimeter or 0.28 millimeter, and one of every 4 millimeter, 0.38 millimeter refill, and tried them all out and decided that's how I ended up on the 83E refill, which is the 307. Because I tried. There are some like Sakura I really like, but it's water based. Makes a really nice dark line. But has to dry, takes a while compared to the Uniball stuff. So if you guys need suggestions, I can kind of give you a rundown of all the different ones I've tried, and maybe just order 1 or 2 refills of each, and maybe and then you're like, I kind of narrowed it down there. Maybe try some different sizes. Like I'm a big Squeers is either like he goes, you know, like fine point on a ballpoint, but like he'll go like 0.28. I even got him a 0.18. I even got him a 0.15. Like he gets down to the point where, like, if you're not writing on half decent paper, you're not gonna be able to write. It's so scratchy. So, but just thought this would be interesting as a follow up to the like pre-compressed spring that I noticed in this version of the Ultim. It's not special, this one. I just apparently was being extra observant today. Well, that is what allows for the shorter of the pen. I went over that in that video, but also this short throw of the bolt, because you're already a third of the way, basically a third of the movement and distance required to get the tip of the pen out has already been completed, because it's pre-compressed down. So this thing is super light. These Ultim ones are stupid light. Yeah. And if you're worried about banging one up or something, like I've showed you before, get the plain well, this isn't pen, but, you know, get a plain tumbled titanium. Nothing's wrecking this. Or get a stainless steel. Those are gonna be pretty beefcakey heavy. You know, here's just a plain titanium. Yeah, still a quality feeling pen. It's nothing's probably hurting that. Maybe a little bit more zest. You can go with something like this Carryology one. It's a little special, got some flair to it, but once again, there isn't any sort of Cerakote or finish that you're gonna have to worry about. So, questions, comments, throw them down below. Hopefully this was interesting for you. Peace.